Hello, everybody. I am D.Lisa West, and I'm a dream doula.
I am Cristina Spitaro. I'm a psychotherapist and relationship coach.
And I love to think that, well, we want to be perfect, and I could edit that out. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave it in. I'm gonna leave in all my flubs and blubs, and that's the way it is.
I am with you. Leave it in, leave the flubs in, be real, be natural, because we worry so much about how we are perceived, about how somebody is taken. And most of the time, people are so worried about their own stuff, they're not even paying attention to our stuff.
In fact, that's what we're going to talk about today is anxiety.
Yes. So
What would
don't
you
get
say the
nervous.
definition of anxiety is?
Anxiety. Well, this is my definition that I like to use because, as you know, there's a lot of different ways to talk about anxiety. But to me, the simplest way to think about it is anxiety is future worry. You are worrying about something that hasn't actually happened yet. That's what it is. Now, of course, you have clinical anxiety where you have all the chemical stuff. We could talk about the whole fight, flight, freeze response to anxiety. We talk about the whole autonomic nervous system and how the body gets anxious and panic attacks and all of that stuff. And those are all, yes, part of this thing we call anxiety. But ultimately, the simplest way to look at it, anxiety is future worry. You are worried about something. You're worried about the possibility of something happening that hasn't actually happened.
Right. And if I look up the definition from the Oxford Dictionary, a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So it is about, as one of my people that I follow calls future tripping. You're tripping out about the future that hasn't even happened yet, and maybe it never will.
Exactly. Because there's so many variables that happen in life. I mean, come on, just watch one time travel movie, for goodness sakes. There's so many different variables where this led to this, and this leads to that, and that leads to this. That, yes, is it possible this thing could happen? Of course. But it's equally possible that it won't.
Right. And then, this just popped into my head. So I'm just going to erp it out. I remember thinking when I was getting divorced, I was really having a terrible, sad time. I was like, if I knew that this was going to happen, I never would have got married. But you know what? You can't really see the future. And those years that I had in the marriage could not have been more enlightening and more self-esteem building and more fantastic in the lessons they brought me. Yes, it was hard. And yes, I'm glad I couldn't see my future because I went into it like so happy. I thought we would just get married and be happy and life would be happy ever after. And yeah, there's anxiety about what will happen if I do this or what will happen if I do that. Today I was like, okay, I'm wearing the same clothes I wore last night to an event. And if I go again out into the town I live in, is anyone going to notice? And then I thought, why do I care about that? I just wore them for an hour last night. I can wear them again. And what I'm wearing, probably, unless it's really flashy or interesting, no one's going to notice it. They're all worried about what they're wearing.
Exactly. Most people don't even pay attention. I mean, unless you're walking down the red carpet at the Oscars where they're suddenly, what's she wearing? She's wearing Versace. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
No one really cares. Although when I was a real estate broker, somebody said to me once, because we were admiring each other's jackets, "Ooh, I like your jacket. Where'd you buy that? And, ooh, this is really cool." And then the woman said to me, women dress for other women. Men don't care what we're wearing. And at that moment in time, I thought, I don't I don't want to dress for the other women in my industry. Why am I even doing that? And I started right then wearing comfortable clothes instead of the clothes that were not so comfortable, but they were real pretty.
I think I'm a personal believer. I think clothes should be comfortable. I like things that feel good. I also suffer from eczema, which for people who are not sufferers, it's a skin thing and it's sort of autoimmune. So like literally, it's just where it's you can have a reaction. Your skin has a reaction to stuff, whether it's weather, whether it's certain materials. So there are just certain materials I cannot wear because literally my body will hate it. And I'll break out into a rash. And I'm like,
well, that's one way to choose your clothes.
exactly. So
there's a whole generation of young people now who are super sensitive to stimulus, and they, maybe they can't deal with a lot of sounds, or the feeling of their clothes is really important to them. It needs to be soft. The tags need to not scratch them.
Exactly. So I don't quite have the sensitivity, but I honor my skin.
Yes.
I'm like if there's like a material and it's like certain synthetic or whatever, and I know, oh no, this is not worth it. If I wear this even for just a half an hour, I'm gonna break out. No, not worth it. It's like you ever go into like when you go into these department stores, they want to spray you. I'm like, back, get away from me. Get away from me.
Do they still do that? I don't think they do that anymore.
Some places they don't automatically spray you. Now they're probably afraid of lawsuits, but they will offer samples. And it's funny because I have a friend who must have like skin of like can handle anything because they're always trying the samples. And like, oh, you want to try? I'm like, no, are you kidding me? I I have a very short list of what's not going to irritate my skin. I'm like, I don't care how nice that smells. You can put it on your skin as much as you want. I'm like, no, not doing it.
Right. So back to anxiety. Do you
Yes.
actually feel anxious when you think about perfume or think about certain clothes, or are you just in the moment thinking, I'm not going to do that?
The good question, because I realize as I'm telling you certain things. Well, here's the thing. Because I know I've been with this body long enough to know what sensitivities there are, I just know I'm going to pick something that will be pleasing to my body so that I won't have a reaction. Anxiety is a little different because it's where an outcome is not assured. Now,
Right.
we may think an outcome is assured. We might think, oh my goodness, that meeting went so bad, my boss is going to fire me, But you know what? They may not. Or maybe it didn't go as bad as you thought, or maybe it went bad, but the boss be like, you know what? You tried your best. So many variables there. So many variables. So the idea is the anxiety, again, it's that whole future thing. There's the possibility it won't happen. Now, so that's why I don't really get anxious about my skin. I'm just like, it's like the idea also because I'm a diabetic, I have to be careful of things I eat. I know what things raise my blood sugar. So I'm not anxious about it. I just know as much as I would love to have that giant piece of chocolate cake, yeah, I can't do it.
Right. Right. So
Unless
the
the mediums
difference,
come. Yeah, so that's the difference.
yeah, the difference between planning for the future and having anxiety on a
Right,
perceived future
right.
is different. And I listened to Eckhart Tolle this
Mm-hmm,
morning talk about, uh, he's all about being in the present moment.
mm-hmm,
Like a lot of Zen masters and people who are spiritual teachers, they try to explain how the universe works, that there's
mm-hmm,
only just this one moment. There's no past, there's no future. Everything's
mm-hmm,
happening now.
mm-hmm,
And now we're in the new now.
mm-hmm,
Now we're in the new now. And he said, if you want to manifest something beautiful
mm-hmm,
or different that you don't have right now in your life, you can't worry about it all day long.
mm-hmm,
You can't be in anxiety about it all day long. That is not going to take you where you want to go. So
mm-hmm,
his suggestion was you think about it first thing in the morning, what you would love. You
mm-hmm.
think about it right before you go to sleep, what you would love. And then you let it go and be as much as you can in the present moment all day long.
I like that.
I think it's hard for our little monkey minds to do that, though.
Oh, yeah. I think it's very hard for our monkey minds. Because keep in mind, as always, the brain, we are not like other creatures on this planet. We don't have claws or sharp fangs or stingers or other protectives. Our brain is our protection. So the goal of our brain is to keep us alive. So the brain, by its very nature, is designed to plan for the future and be aware of danger so we don't die. Or don't die until whatever, we're supposed to do first or whatever. So with that in mind, anything we perceive as a danger is going to make us anxious because we've got to get the body going to do that fight, flight, freeze response thing.
I love that. That's so beautifully put. I've never thought about it in exactly that way before, Cristina. Our brain is like our claws. Yes. Or our sharp teeth or our stinger. That's actually a better metaphor for what the brain is. Your brain is your stinger.
Yeah.
And it can come out and sting people or yourself.
Exactly. But that's really its design. That's why it's here. It's here to help us survive this world. So the problem is if we use it properly, like plan, like we said, plan for things in a healthy way, be in the moment, but don't allow ourselves to, and it's perfect when you say the monkey mind, because that's our innate survival animal nature of, my goodness, this is life or death. But very few things are actually life or death. From a psychological standpoint, we get our emotions worked up to the point where it feels like it's life or death, but it's actually not life or death.
I wonder, because I'm thinking about this, my personal belief is when people do extreme sports, it is life or death. Like they might fall off the mountain, they might crash and hurt themselves or kill themselves, and then when they're done with that event, like, ooh, they're so alive and they're so happy. Can you get that same thing when you come out the other side of anxiety?
I think what happens with anxiety, and this is why anxiety gets perpetuated, because keep in mind, again, this is the protective nature. So if we're afraid of something, and so a lot of anxiety involves avoidance. So like if we're afraid of something, then we avoid the thing we're afraid of because we have a perceived danger. So then what happens is, now because we avoided it, the bad thing didn't happen because we avoided it. So now we feel good we avoided it. So now we're going to keep avoiding it, thus perpetuating the fear.
Wow.
We're complicated.
So to get to that place that an extreme sport person would get to after some event that they did, you'd have to go to some kind of aversion therapy. And then you might feel that exhilaration because you could touch the spider or get in the elevator or get on the airplane. And when you're done, you'd be, oh, I did it.
You did it. I survived. I didn't die.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes. Because when I was a young woman, I used to work on boats and I didn't know how to swim.
God bless you.
Every day I thought I might die.
Wow.
Every day, all summer long for 10 years. I would look at the little sign that said rough bar crossing. And I'm like, no, the sign is blinking. It's going to be rough. And then we'd get out there, work all day, come back in. And at the end of the day, I felt very tired because it was a physically demanding job. And I also felt this happy exhilaration that I didn't die, even though it was not that dangerous of a job unless the boat flipped. In my mind, though, I'm going to die if I fall off the boat. If the boat tips over, I can't swim, I'm going to die. But that's when I had that epiphany that's why people love like extreme sports. They like jumping out of airplanes. They like going down helicopter skiing. They like whatever they're doing surfing 100-foot waves, because in the end, they don't die.
Yeah. In the end, they don't die. They live, they survive.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's a way of testing their bodies and challenging themselves to survive. But it's funny because I haven't done a full research thing on it, but you will have people who will do extreme things like that. But when it comes to some of the interpersonal stuff, now that will freak them out.
Yes. Yes, they can jump out of the airplane, but they can't
Right,
have
they
a
could jump out of
love
the
relationship.
airplane, but the idea like lifetime commitment? Oh, no. That's scary because in a way they've tested their bodies, right? So they're like, okay, I know I think my body will survive this. I can do this. And whatever happens, I'm prepared for that. But people get so afraid of the emotional. It's in many ways, people are more afraid of getting hurt emotionally than physically.
That's fascinating. I see
Now
that as
that's
real,
not
real
a hard and fast
correlation.
rule because, like, someone's coming at you with something, yeah, you're gonna be freaking out. But yeah.
Well, I remember saying to someone once in a dream,
Mm-hmm.
I said, emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse because no one can see it.
Yeah.
And so, what's happening inside of our mind and our
Mm-hmm.
heart and our soul self?
Mm-hmm.
Our soul self, of course, is always perfect and complete,
Sure. Of
exactly the
course.
way it is. But
Of
here we are,
course.
humans, thinking that we're somehow flawed, something bad's about to happen. We need to get our brain beak claw stinger out and save
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Uh, and also, all those things that people said to us are still playing over and over again in a loop in our.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you help people who, let's say they suffer from mild anxiety
Mm-hmm.
about, I don't know what, fill in the blank. How do you help them get out of that anxiety loop that's happening in their brain? Like, this is going to happen. This is going to be
Mm-hmm.
bad. I'm going to be so embarrassed, or this is whatever they're thinking of.
Right. Well, part of it is recognizing the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a lot of, being in the present moment work, because again, this is something that hasn't actually happened yet. And then
Sure.
I do a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy techniques where we talk about, okay, well, where is that thought coming from? And what can you do to challenge that thought? Changing it, looking at other possibilities. There's another technique I like. It's called like putting thoughts on trial. Like, well, what is the likelihood of this outcome? And if the
Right.
outcome is highly unlikely, yeah, you're gonna have a mistrial.
Let mistrial, judge throws it out. The other thing I've heard is, which might be a little more difficult for some people, is like, are you okay right now, this minute? Right here, where you are you
Right,
okay?
right.
Yes. Most
So
people, the answer is yes.
the answer is yes.
Where they are and what is happening in their life right now, they're okay.
Right. So then it's the thing that, again, it's the future thing they're worried about. So then what can you do? And that's also a lot of grounding exercises too, because
Mm,
especially for people I've worked with who have suffered trauma and it's left them with anxiety. So there's a lot of flashbacking to the prior event and to the anxiety from that. So then a lot of what we do is grounding them in their present moment, reminding them that you are safe now. You are no longer in that situation where you were helpless and defenseless, that you
right.
have tools now you didn't have then, and like regrounding them in a healthier, safer present moment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then to also put it on this, you don't even know maybe that you're anxious,
Mm-hmm.
but your body will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I've heard it said this way multiple times from multiple people, but are you feeling expansive or are you feeling contracted?
Mm-hmm.
And the contracted feeling might be attached to you're anxious about something, or what
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking about? What you're thinking, something, some kind of negative thought. And the
Absolutely.
expansive feeling is well, love, joy, gratitude,
Yes.
all
Yes.
those things that, like, to be more in that zone than the
Mm-hmm.
contracted zone
Mm-hmm.
is the way to navigate the present moment.
Absolutely.
Mm, beautiful.
And
We could talk about anxiety for weeks, but will we? Who
it
knows?
depends. Well, dear listeners, if you want to hear more on anxiety, let us know.
Let us know, because we can talk about it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, Cristina, for your time and your talent today. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me. And for those listening, thank you for listening to us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, right on. Go ahead and subscribe so you can listen whenever we put something up, which is pretty
Exactly.
much pretty much every week.
Exactly.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Oh, we forgot to mention a movie. What have you got for us?
So what I'm going to give you, there's so many movies that deal with anxiety. You've got As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, Greg Kinnear, where he actually suffered from very severe obsessive compulsive disorder and stuff like that. And then there's another movie from the 1980s called Innerspace with Martin Short, Dennis Quaid, and Meg Ryan. I find that movie so funny, so silly, so zany. And a common theme in both is both of those men suffer from anxiety, but it's when they face their fears that they actually start living again.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. There's some
Yes.
movies to watch, people. Thank
Yes.
you.
You're welcome.